Well, good morning. I'd like you to join me today if you want to. I am working on the Pineapple Afghan. This was a year-long make-along on my Facebook group and on my channel. It is the Pineapple Afghan by Judy Teague Treese, and she allowed this to be free on the Essential Patterns website, so I grabbed it off there. The link is still there for free, but it is also a paid pattern on several other websites if you Google it. So what I've been doing is 1 square per month all year long, and I just thought I would do a square with you because I have to do my October square. What I've been using this year through the whole entire blanket is the Stitch Studio by Nicole Earth Tone. This was a beautiful 4 medium weight yarn. You can find it at AC Moore's. It is just a huge skein. They came in 612 yards, and I'm on my 3rd skein of this. And you know, I am hoping I have enough. I do have some yarn that's just like this from other places that I'm going to use if I run out, but I'm hoping I don't. So let's pull everything away from the camera this time, and so we will try and have the best view possible. I am not sitting down yet, but I will. So we're gonna start out with an eye hook and a slip stitch. It's not really a tutorial, but 5.5 millimeter. But, you know, I guess some people could learn from this if they didn't know how to do it. So, it says to chain 8. And then slip stitch in the first chain to form a ring. Now we're going to do 8 cluster stitches. It tells you to start with the beginning cluster stitch of chain 3, yarn over, insert hook in the loop, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over, insert into the loop again, draw up another loop, yarn over, and draw through 2. Then yarn over again and draw through all 3, and that is your beginning cluster. Chain 2 in between clusters, and now we're going to do 1 cluster together, and we're going to just start over with that same idea, and we'll do it again. It's like you're doing 3 double crochets, but you're not finishing them. You're only drawing through the first time, and then you'll end up with 4 loops and draw through. So there's 3. I know a lot of the girls have been using all different colors. There is posts on the group of everybody's works in progress, because I've been asking them to show their works so that way I could draw prizes from there. And how fun has this been? Everybody's been doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6. And I sewed together. Now, if you pull the tail, it does start to close it up a little bit, but you still want a center hole there. I got 2 more to do. Coffee this morning is regular Folgers with hazelnut creamer in it. And then there's just the last cluster in the middle. Chain 2 one last time and single crochet into the main cluster, the main stitch. You don't single crochet in the chain 3, do it in the main part. And then maybe tighten it up just a little bit, and we'll go ahead and skip over to the first chain space and slip stitch there. So there's your center ring. Now if you go back to the pattern, you're going to chain 3, and 2 double crochets into that space for the second row. And then I'm reading as I go. It says to skip over to the next chain space and do a corner. So we're going to do chain 3 or double crochet 3, chain 2, double crochet 3 into that next space to make the corner. The next space will be a side, and that will be 3 double crochets. And then skip over again to the next space and do another corner, I believe. Let me check. Yeah. So it's chain or 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And then we will skip to the next one and do 3 double crochets. See how the circle is now starting to look like a square? This inner granny square type beginning could be used for any kind of square. So at this point you could actually end after this or one more row and use that for a pattern and make squares just like that. You wouldn't even have to go any farther. And that's why a lot of patterns seem similar when people are, you know, starting out. They'll use a similar beginning on a lot of things. So we're going to do our last corner, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So this square actually is made from the side of one of the side of your square. And then after you finish the corner, you're going to slip stitch right in the top of the chain 3 and finish it. So you're always going to be on the side of your square at the beginning of your square, not on the corner. There's your 4 corners. Alright, so row 3 is slip stitch into the next stitch. The next stitch is the middle of that cluster, granny square cluster. So I'm going to slip stitch into there, and then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to double crochet right into the same space, and you have just made the beginning of this V-stitch. It doesn't call it a V-stitch in the pattern, but that is what I'm calling it. And then it says to chain 3, and it says to single crochet into the corner or the next space. So you're skipping all the way. Let me read that one more time. Yeah. Double crochet into, single crochet into. Yes, and how it reads is, it reads chain 3, single crochet, chain 6, single crochet into the next chain space. So if you look here, there are no chain spaces until you come to the corner. So that's why you would do the whatever's in the parentheses, single crochet, chain 6, single crochet into the next chain space when you're reading across. So you're going to skip whatever is here until you get to the next chain space. So it's a single crochet, chain 6, and then single crochet right back into that chain space, and you're making the corner. So the corner is going to look different. Now you're going to chain 3 again, and you're going to skip all the way to the second cluster, and you're going to double crochet right into the middle double crochet of the second cluster. So you're going to double crochet there, you're going to chain 1 and double crochet right back in to that same one to make a V-stitch, and you're going to go ahead and chain 3 again. And there's one corner done and one side, and 2 sides done. Well, almost 2 sides. This one is half. This side is not quite done. It needs your chain 3 on it. But then we'll do it again. We'll go into the corner with a single crochet, chain 6, and single crochet for that second corner, chain 3. Find that middle cluster of granny stitch, the granny stitch, and go into the middle one with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 3 again, single crochet in the corner, chain 6, single crochet back into the corner, chain 3, double crochet in the middle cluster of the middle double crochet of the middle cluster, chain 1, double crochet right back in there again, chain 3, single crochet into the corner, chain 6, and a single crochet again into the corner, chain 3, and you have made it all the way around, and you will you will slip stitch into the third chain on this first chain 5. So you will have that V-stitch leg, and there is row 3 complete. You will then slip stitch into, no, I'm sorry, that is not right. The next row is chain 3 and start row number 4. Okay, I'm going to set it down for a second and take a sip. I'm standing up doing it today because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing as good as I can show you. So, it's kind of tiring in a way. Okay, row number 4. It says chain 3, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in next chain space. So this counts as a stitch, this chain 3. It is going to be right above your other chain 3. So we're going to do a V-stitch in the V-stitch. So we're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then it says to double crochet into the next stitch, which is this stitch right here. So you are going to be increasing that. That is now increased by 2 stitches. It was just 1 leg here, now it's 2. And then it says skip next space, chain 2, and make 9 double crochets in the skip next chain 3 and make 9 double crochets into your corner. So we're gonna do 9 double crochets. This is very difficult to talk about anything else while I'm doing it. My mind doesn't want to. It's like, well, we're reading a pattern here. So you're going to finish off your 9, and that's how it will fan over to the next side. So now your corner is way different than it was before. And then it says to chain 2. And now it says to, oops, bump the table. It says to skip the next chain space and double crochet into the next stitch, which will be the leg of the next V-stitch. Then it says to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next chain, which would be the V-stitch, and then double crochet into the next stitch. And then chain 2. And it says to repeat that. So now you're going to skip over this chain again and to go into the corner and do 9 double crochets. And I just missed my loop, so I'm going to pull it back out. And start again. So you have to be careful when you're going that far away and you're starting your first double crochet that you actually do the stitch properly and not miss that loop. You're doing 9 double crochets into the corner. And then chain 2. And then we're going to do a double crochet into the first, skip this chain into the first leg of the V-stitch, make another V-stitch into that V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, make another double crochet into the next stitch, chain 2, and we're halfway around this again. Making I guess making tutorials is kind of boring, so you know, we will continue on to the next corner, and 9 double crochets in this corner, what do I got? 2, 4, 6, 7. I lost count. 9. Chain 2. Jump over to the V-stitch. Double crochet in the first stitch. Make another V-stitch into that V-stitch space. Double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 2. And we're going to do our last corner. We're going to do 9 double crochets into the last corner, and you are basically set up to start your pineapple corners. How did I get out of focus again? I'm trying to stay above the camera and look down, and I'm never going to get the hang of this. Never. It's very difficult. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Chain 2. Skip that last chain. Find your chain 3 at the beginning. Slip stitch into the top of it. Whoops. Bring through a loop, bring through that loop, and that 4th row, 1, 2, 3, 4th row is complete. I'm going to stop and take a breath. Alright, I'm back, and I did end up sewing in my end on the back. I didn't even think about it. I just went ahead and did it because I don't like to leave the ends undone like that. So now we're going to start row number 5, and we're going to chain 3, which counts as your first double crochet. Double crochet in the next stitch, and then do a V-stitch. Now this V-stitch is double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then you go into the next 2 with a double crochet, chain 2, and we're going to do the corner. Going to set up the next section on the corner, which is single crochet in the first of your 9 double crochets, chain 1, single crochet in your second, chain 1, single crochet in your third, and continue on in every single one of these on the corner. This is very hard to keep this in view and not drop the stitches off the needle and things. Chain 2 when you get to the end of the 9, and then do your side, which is double crochet in the next 2, double crochet in the space, chain 2, double crochet in the same space for your V-stitch, double crochet in the next 2, And again, you have increased your side from 4 stitches to 6. Chain 2, start the next corner. Single crochet into the first double crochet, chain 1, and continue. Alright. So we were talking about what we are going to do for 2022 year-long make-along. Chain 2 at the corner. Start the next side. I really want to use a square pattern that has quite a lot of texture. And the reason for that is I'd like to use, say, a yarn that has a lot of colorways, whether they are gradient colorways or solids, because then that way you're doing a pattern that is gonna have like a lot of stitch work and texture, and then you will see it better if it's a solid. And I'm thinking like a mandala type square, and a couple girls have sent me an idea and I like them. I think that this might be something that would be fun to do. And what I mean by like companies that have what was it, Ferris wheel, it had like 6 or 7 colors, and they were all different. So we could do like our squares in all the different colorways, but you wouldn't necessarily have to do it that way. It's just an idea. You could just use the same color throughout if you wanted. That would be up to you. But I was thinking, if we did that, kind of an idea where you had a mandala type, that would be really fun. And nobody's blanket would be the same, depending on what yarn you chose. And so your last thing you do is chain 2 and then single or slip stitch in the top of your chain 3 from the beginning, and you are now done with row 5. Yeah, so that's a really cool idea to use like a mandala square. So if you have one that you've tried, a mandala square, by goodness, for sure, send it to me. I want to see it. Row 6, you're going to start again with the same thing. You're going to chain 3 and double crochet in the next stitch, in the next 2 stitches, and then make your V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Then double crochet in the next 3, and again you have now increased the corner by 2 more stitches. As you can see, they're increasing 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to chain 2 and do the same thing as we did before. I believe, let's see, it says skip the next chain, single crochet in the next space. So what we're going to do is, instead of going into the stitch, we're going to go into the chain 1 space. That is going to decrease your amount of stitches on that. So this one says single crochet in the next chain space, chain 2 this time. Skip that stitch and go into the space between. Chain 2, go into the space between. chain 2 into the space between, and you will end up with one less on that side, and then that will be the last one, and chain 2. Let's see if you can see that. There's the V-stitch side, and there is your corner, first corner done. Chain 2, do the next side, crochet into the first 3, do the V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then do the next 3, double crochet in each, and then chain 2. I'm going to lay it down again. So I've done 2 sides in a corner. It looks like these are the corners. And they technically are. After you get done, you will figure out that these are actually your corners. This is where your pineapples are. So chain 2, go into the space between, chain 1 space between, and single crochet. Chain 2, skip there to that space, I am really thinking about using some like gradient, like say colors for the next one. I'm back talking about the next one again. Like one square will be blue, but it'll be 3 or 4 shades of blue, and it'll change on its own. And then the next square will be red, and the next square will be yellow. Okay, so I'm going to be looking in my stash, and if I don't have enough of something, then I'll probably have to purchase. But I'm thinking of a heathered type of, you know, maybe everyday premiere in the heathers or something like that, or something from Michael's that has a couple different colorways, something like that. So my squares will all be different colors this year. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm not quite sure what yet. But it will most likely be one of those, because they're easily washed. So we're talking, you know, Premier Everyday or Loops and Threads, something from there that doesn't have wool in it, and that will be what my choice will end up being for one of the girls to get an Afghan made in that year, and then I will give it to him at the end of the year again, like I am this one. So that is my plan for 2022, and I need to make a decision, because once Christmas hits and that month flies by, I'd like to be able to start the next make-along as soon as January hits. And so we have to make our decision now, you know. Already around to the last side already. It doesn't seem to take long to do a row, but yet there's 17 rows on these squares, so they do take quite a while to do one. And when I finish this, I am going to stop again, and we will take a break. Alright, so there is row number. Now how do I know what row it is? Well, the circle is 1, the square is 2, the chain is 3, then we go to row 4, 5, and 6. So that is your 6th row, and as you can see, they're going, your pineapples are there, and your corner edging ones, the ones that are gonna stay flat with no pineapple, are here. Alright, I will be back. Alright, so it's time to start row number 7. Again, we're going to start on the side. It's actually going to be on the first corner. If you have done these, you know that. So it's chain 3, which counts as your first double crochet, and then double crochet until you reach the peak, which will be 4 now. I am going to sit down this time so that I'm going to be more comfortable. Now, what I'm hoping is that this piece of tape right here, which you can't see, maybe, yeah, you can, that I don't go in front of that piece of tape, because someone suggested that to me. So we'll see what happens. So I'm going to try and sit down. I got a fresh cup of coffee, and we're going to continue on talking and crocheting row number 7. Now, if I look up, I can just see the tip of the camera, and I think that I'm in the frame. So now I finished that, and you have increased again 1 more stitch, and now you have 5 on each side of that V. Chain 2, and we're going to do our next row of our pineapples, and this is again in your space. So you're going to single crochet in the first space, chain 2, and single crochet in each space of that cluster. I went to Michael's again yesterday because I wanted to pick up some more of that charisma that I got last week. And what my plan is, wow, alright, so I'll start from the beginning of the story. I took and was looking around on the internet yesterday because I get emails that say this, you know, check out this pattern or check out that pattern, and one of the patterns that came up was a baby blanket, or not a baby blanket, a baby sweater. And you know how much I love making baby sweaters. So I was looking at it and I'm like, you know, that really looks like I want to make it. So I went ahead and looked at it closer. And I thought, you know what? I want to make this because it's bulky 5 yarn. And I want to see how it comes out in bulky 5, and I just had purchased that charisma, and that's what it is, bulky 5. And I was like, you know, I didn't get enough of it, so I'll go ahead and I'll get more. I had only gotten one skein each because I was planning on making a hat out of them. Well, one was pink and lavender, and one was blue, very light pastel colors. And so I went back to Michael's and looked to see if they had a couple more in those two colors, and they did. And then hidden behind one of the other colors was 3 of another color, lavender one, but it was called something else, and I'm like, oh. So I ended up getting 3 of those as well. Now I'm hoping that 3 is enough. If not, it doesn't appear to be discontinued. I should be able to get it again. Who knows? But the pattern is a Lion brand pattern, free on their website. And I'm like, well, that's cool, because we can do that together, a free pattern. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm gonna plan on doing that sweater together if anybody is interested. I'm not going to give the pattern out right this second, but I'm going to give it out soon. I mean, give it out. It's free, so it's not like I'm giving it, but giving you the name of it so that way you can go and get it. The reason why is because it's a knit one, and I was hoping that, first of all, that someone even would be interested in doing a knit one. And until I know that, I was just not sure. But I know there's a couple girls that might want to do it. And it will be a learning experience for me, because I have not knit a sweater with the piecework like I think you're going to do. I didn't read the whole entire pattern, but I think you're going to do pieces and sew them together. So this is the end of round, 7? How do we know? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right like that. So the next 8, 9, 10, and 11 are exactly the same as that row. When we get to row 11 is when we increase our chains, I believe. Yes. So 8, 9, and 10 are identical to this row, where you just continue to put a stitch in each of the sides and increases by 1, and do your pineapples over here exactly the same as you did. So now we're to the part where I can just sit and gab or whatever. So yeah, I was like, I really want to try and do this sweater, so I bought 3 different colors, and I'm hoping to do 3 different sweaters. Yeah, that sounds like a lot, but I don't want to not be able to get this yarn again, so I figured, well, I'll buy enough to make 3, and that way, like, if you're interested in doing anything knit, so that is the plan for that. And basically what it's doing is it's a learning experience for me and for everyone that is new to knitting as well. And then we will learn together. That's the intention of my vlogs, it's a journey on what I'm doing and what I'm learning, even at this age, and doing it with other people. Alright, we're already to a corner again. It's just flying by. Sitting down under the lights does give me quite the glare, and it is different. I hope that I'm staying in frame this time. I'm trying to look at the tape I have on the table to tell me not to go past this or the it's kind of fun to do a vlog like this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera off and do those 3 rows at my leisure, and when I get up farther along in the pattern, I will come back and maybe not. Maybe not. So I did my last addictions video, and I asked what you guys like to do in the fall, if you like to go to the apple farms, and you know, do you like to go get pumpkins at the pumpkin? Now, every place is different. Some places only have apples and apple cider and donuts. Some places have pumpkins, and you know, you can get everything in one place. So some places have all kinds of displays, and you can take pictures with the kids. It's always fun. And everybody was telling me all the different places that they like to go to at this time of year, and boy, they were saying that there's a lot of festivals and stuff, and they had a lot of vendors and things like that that they go to. Now, we do have one here called the Apple Festival, and I don't recall it having much food. I don't know why they call it that. Maybe because I didn't walk around a real lot. There might have been more food on the other side, but they have all handmade vendors, and they fill it right up. They had like 200 vendors there the one year that I went, and they're all big spaces. Like, you can have a complete tent over your space, so you have lots of room to bring a lot of your product in. And that, I did go to that one year and actually was a vendor. I haven't been able to get in since then, but that's because they canceled it the one year. And then this year, I don't know what happened, where it wasn't advertised, I guess, enough for me to see it, and so I missed it, and I didn't get in. So I was like, oh shoot. So I don't know what happened. I guess they didn't email other, you know, people from 2 years before or something, because I don't know. Either way, it would have been fun to go to that as a vendor again. But it's usually in September, so it's early enough to not always take your winter items, I guess. That's what I like to do, is take, you know, hats and scarves and things that are on the list for putting in stockings or buying for the winter time, you know, that fall season. And September, it's like just ramping up, so it's not really the time to go yet. But I did okay the first year. That I went, I didn't do bad at all. And back again, talking about the one that they usually have at the college here, that is canceled again for this year, so that won't be going on. They always have that on Black Friday weekend, and I've never been a vendor to that one, so I'm not quite sure why they decided to not have it. But there's not a lot of things going on that, you know, you can go to to buy handmade if the biggest ones cancel. So I do have 2 set up for the year, and they're thinking about the one in December. So I'm not, the one school is, they haven't decided yet. I'm not going to end up going to as many as I usually do. Alright, so I'm going to stop again and meet you back here when my square is a little bit bigger. And I hope you're enjoying this. I'll talk to you in a minute. I'm back again, and now I have already gone through the first section. Well, 8, 9, and 10 is where we were. I have done row 11 now, and so I'm on row 12, and I'm hoping that you have done this before, so you know that that's where it starts to buckle a little bit. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to where the differences are in the pattern. So it's telling me that I'm going to be increasing my chain count in between the sides and the pineapple. That's the only difference. You still do the corners the same. You put 1 double crochet in each double crochet and do your corner V-stitch. And then you will go around to the pineapple, and right on each side of the pineapple is where you will increase to 3 chains. And then your pattern will repeat here a couple rows. So you'll still do your 2 chains in between your single crochets here, but you'll do 3 chains on each side. It gives it just that little bit. Now if you wanted to, you could actually increase that earlier. I know a couple girls decided that when they saw how it buckled a little bit on the sides, but I went ahead and blocked my squares, and you really can't see that anymore. They block out okay. If you're using an acrylic yarn, you're going to wash this and your stitches are going to get more evenly spaced out, and that'll help as well if you don't want to block it. But to sew them together, I really feel that you need to block this one. See how it starts to buckle, but then the more flat that the more you lay it down and flatten it out, the more that it flat, but it doesn't stay. So if you get it wet, completely get it wet and block it, it's easier to work with when you're sewing them together, because I have 8 of them sewn together already, from the first 8 finished in August. So yeah, now I'm back on, I'm on row 12 now. There are 17 rows to the square, and my plan was to vlog through most of this square and then come to the end of the square and then show you one that is blocked. And then later on, sometime, when I have all 12 squares done, I was planning on coming on and vlogging sewing them together. So after I have the next 4 done, I will plan on a vlog where I do that. And then I think I will work on the edging that day and finish this project up. And it'll be all ready to give away to my daughter for Christmas. So that was the plan, why I did a year-long make-along, because I was excited about giving her a Afghan for her couch, because I haven't made her one for their new house yet. I never did get around to doing that yet, so I will give her this one. She can put it in either living room or on her bed, wherever she wants, but I tried to do a neutral color because they have a lot of neutrals in their living rooms. So we'll see what happens. She has no idea that I'm making it. Unless she just saw this video, but I doubt it. I know she doesn't know. She hasn't been watching my videos. She watched a few of them at the beginning, and then somebody said something to her about, why are you watching crochet videos? You don't crochet. And I don't know, that she stopped watching them, so whatever, that's fine. My daughter-in-law, on the other hand, she does know how to crochet, and she is very appreciative of anything that I make her or my new granddaughter that it was born in 2020. So her birthday's coming up, and I'm going to be making her a new hat for her birthday because I love making her hats, and I figured a new pink one would be perfect for her birthday, 1 year, and so I will be making that pretty soon. Her birthday's in November, so I'm hoping that you all join me with that. I'll be doing that on a vlog. Somebody is outside sighting in their gun, must be, because they're shooting in the background, and I'm guessing it's the neighbor. So there is row 12 all done, and I will come back here when I'm ready for the next series. Wait a minute, the next round is 13. Oh yes, round 13 is different, because if you notice, you have now worked your way from 9 single crochets all the way to 2, and that leaves that 1 space. So now row 13 is actually different. Okay, we're going to start row 13. So we're going to chain 3 and double crochet into the next 9 stitches, and your corner will still be the same. Do your V-stitch the same, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then crochet, double crochet in the next 10. I did notice when I was watching a couple of the girls crochet in other videos that some people wrap their yarn quite a few times around their finger. That gives me way too much tension. It tightens it way too much for me, and so I am not actually putting any tension on it there. I am catching it down here like this and wrapping it once, and that is all the tension that I get is right here. That is it. It flows quite naturally that way for me. And so all my tension is right here. Basically, I'm just catching it there and holding it there. I'm not putting any tension at all with this hand. It's all in my right hand. Whether or not that makes a difference for anyone to know. Alright, so now it says I'm to that corner done. Now it says to go ahead and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip the next chain space and single crochet into the next space. So at the peak of your pineapple, you will have a single crochet and then chain 5 again, and then back to the next corner. So that is an easy row. Basically, it's setting you up for the end of your pineapple. And now we can go back gabbing about something else. What can we talk about now? Oh, so my love of baby items. I started making baby blankets when my kids were born years ago, and I made 3 or 4 for myself, and for each child, and dabbled in that. Then I actually made a couple sweaters, and I wasn't happy with them. Obviously, I tried to make them in crochet with a too bulky or too heavy of a thread, yarn, and I wasn't happy with it. So I never really did it again. I was like, I'm not inspired. And so I waited, I don't know, probably closer to when my daughter was born before I started to try it again. And there was several years in between there. I had a child, I think it was, 11 years difference between my son and my daughter. So a lot more experience of crochet had been done in between there. So at that point I was like, let's try this again. So I brought out some lighter weight, read a couple more patterns, and started making sweaters. And again, I had to trial and error 100 different patterns and different yarns, and I found out that there are a lot of 4 yarns that are light, but they're still not quite light enough, and things like that. So anyway, that is how I ended up figuring out that I liked making them with themes and buttons and different. See how this is curling up just a little bit, and a lot of people are very put off by that, but it does work out eventually. So back to my story. I got my first doll. My daughter was like 4 years old. Got my first doll, and I just kept making sweaters until I was happy with the pattern, and then I started using that pattern over and over again and just changing the colors that I was using, whether it was white edging or using buttons or whatever I could figure out to make a theme. And then now I've gotten so that I like to make the complete set to try to match all up when I do a shower gift for someone. And then last year I picked up my first knitting needles, and that is the first thing I wanted to try and do, was knit a baby sweater, because I figured that all it could do is make me love the baby sweater even more, and I was right. So now that's all I want to do, is knit baby sweaters. Because so what's happened is now my sets have developed even more to where I make a knitted sweater to go with a crocheted blanket. How fun is that? When you use the same colors and you use a theme, they automatically match. And I just think that is the coolest thing, to be able to, knit the sweater. and it is, the material is just more to my liking. So that's how that happened. I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. So let's hopefully I didn't mess up by gabbing. And make sure all my corners are matching before I go on to the next row. And coming around to the end of row 13. So we have 4 more rows to do. And row 14, basically you will do your corner the same. And when you come around to this spot here, we're going to chain 4, we're going to single crochet in the chain space, we're going to chain 3, so we're going to make an arch over these two. I don't know if you can see this, so let's move it down into frame. We're going to do our corner the same on row 14, and we're going to make an arch here. So we're going to chain from this stitch over, we're going to chain 4, single crochet in your chain space, chain 3, single crochet in your other chain space, and then chain 4 again and do your corner. So I'll be back after I do rows 14, 15, and 16. Basically we will be getting to the end and squaring off your edges just a little bit and bringing this part so that it all squares off together, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. What I did was I finished row 14 and I did not show you how to do that. So when you got to the pineapple, you actually chained 4, single crocheted in your next chain space, chained 3, and single crocheted in your next chain space and chained 4 again. So you actually made an arch and set yourself up for the next row. Now row 15 I've started. I did the corner same way, did the corner, and then so now we are on to the section where we are going to do row 15. You're going to chain 3 and skip the next chain space and double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that space, so you're going to make a V-stitch and chain 3 again. So now you're actually starting what you do on the sides here and continue on with your corner, skipping that grouping, that chain, and so it'll mimic the corner now. And that is all you do for that side, and the corners are all the same. So row 15 that's all that is setting yourself up to be able to do the edging. 2 rows on the edging, row 16 and 17, and then your corner or your square is done. And so I figured I would finish this off. It's going to take me a little bit to finish this. So let's gab a little bit about something else. Oh, I don't know what to talk about. Let's just go onto this next side and think about it for a minute. Oh, I can tell a story about Afghans. Okay, I'm gonna tell a story about Afghans. So when I was going to college, I was living at home here with my dad in this house, and I was working on crochet on my off when I had TV time or whatever. And he says, you know, I haven't made me an Afghan in a long time. And I said, no, I guess I haven't. And he said, I really like that Navajo blanket that you made. And why I bring that up is because I really have been doing that Navajo blanket for quite a while now, because we're talking about when I was like 20 some years old at that point. And he said, "Why, I want you to make me one for my couch or chair, and I want it to be in that Navajo diamond pattern." And I said, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I want it all one color." And I'm like, "All right." And he goes, "And I want," he was over 6 foot tall. He says, "And I want it big enough so that I don't have my feet sticking out at the bottom all the time, you know." And I'm like, "Oh, we can do this." So we went down to what used to be a store called Ames, and we bought it was like a tannish, brownish rust color, and we had to have bought 30 skeins of this yarn, and I believe at that time there were 3.5 ounce skeins or something like that. I can't tell you what the yardage would have been, but it was acrylic, and I think they were somewhere in the range of maybe $1.99 to $2.49, maybe around in there. So you can imagine we spent, you know, $30-$40 for the yarn for this, and I wanted to get that done for him for Christmas, and I think it was somewhere in October. I know we were watching football when he asked me about it, and I wanted to get it done for Christmas, and so I went like crazy trying to finish that Afghan for him for Christmas, and I did finish it, and it came out lovely, and it was huge, and let's see, I ended up making him a pillow cover to match sham, and I did the Navajo diamond pattern on that pillow cover too. It wasn't a real big pillow, but it matched, and it, yeah. I can remember thinking to myself that this blanket is never gonna end, because it was like king size, right? And that is not, you know, you would think, well, she'll never make another one of those because you get sick of that same pattern. But you know, I have made that pattern over and over and over and over again. I think I've made that pattern more than I've made any other pattern. I've done it in black, red, white, and gray, which is the original pattern, 2 or 3 times. I've done it with a variegated colorway, in other words, 3 solids and a variegated, and usually one of them is a white, but not always. I used to take and go to the store called Aunt Mary's. It was the greatest store. I wish it was still around. What that store was to me was an outlet, a yarn outlet, and most of the yarns that they sold in bags. So you would buy it by the pound there, and you might buy 2 or 3 pounds at a time, or you might just buy 1 pound. And I'm already to the end of row 15, so there's only 2 rows left. And I can't just sit and do every row. I'm having like fatigue under the camera, so I'm going to turn it off one more time, and then hopefully we'll be able to finish this up in one more take. Okay, we're back, and I am on row 16. What I did was I did the corner, like that, normal. I did the row 16, told you to do 4 double crochets in the first chain space that you came to. Skip over to the second chain space and do 2 double crochets in there, and then do 4 in your second. So your pineapple now is closed up and it is all even with the edging, and it's just, so I went ahead and did that all the way around, and I am on the last flat section to finish up this round. So I'm going to go back and talk about what I was talking about, and that is the Aunt Mary's craft store. And it was in a plaza, and it was set out by itself. It was a building in that plaza, and I can remember going in there and buying bags of yarn. Most of the yarn that were in these bags were not labeled. They just said poundage, like 16 ounces, 1 pound, acrylic, or whatever, for medium worsted, or they'd say worsted, and that was all. So what I'd do is I'd go through these bins of yarn, and I'd buy a bag of, say, 5 or 6 skeins, and that would be like a pound, and they might be all variegated and they all look the same. They might be odd lots or whatever you want to call. And then I'd go and I'd look in the solid colors and try to find 2 or 3 colors that would match. Now there is a knot in this, and I'm going to pull it as tight as I can, and if I cannot get it out, I will leave it. But if that comes right out, then I would re-knot that. So I'm going to end row 16, and I'm going to go on to row 17 until my story's over. And that is a single crochet row. You're going to single crochet right into the top of your chain 1, in the same stitch your chain 1 was in, and that is going to be the beginning of that row 17, and you're going to single crochet all the way to your corner. So I would buy this bag of variegated, and I would go around the store, and if it was a blue variegated or a green variegated, it might have a white or it might have a cream color in it, and I would find a bag of cream and a bag of blue and a bag of green that all matched, and I would make these Navajo blankets out of these bags. And I'll tell you what, these bags were like anywhere between $2 and $5. That's it. So for a blanket, I might get away with a $20, you know, for a blanket, and that was great. So in your corner, you're going to make a chain or a single crochet, and it says to chain 1, I'm going to chain 2, and that's your corner, and then continue on. So I would buy these 4 bags or whatever and come home, and I would make a Navajo blanket with these 4 colors, and they would always come out so cool. So that's why I kept making them. They closed that store, and then the only way you could get those odd lots or those bags from Aunt Mary's was to get them through the actual warehouse. And so I would call the warehouse and I would ask to get some, and how they would do it is they would do it by the pound, and you could get like 60 pounds and it would cost like $60, and that was a bargain. But you didn't know what you were going to get, you know. So I did it a couple times, and I'd get like 10 or 12 bags in or maybe 20 or whatever bags in a box, and that whole box would come to the house, and there'd be 4 bags of solid blue and 4 bags of solid purple and stuff like that. And that was a great way to stock up and have plenty of colors to pick from, and I still have some. That's how long they lasted me, because that Aunt Mary's went out of business also, and so you can't do that anymore. So this is all you do for your last row is single crochet, and I did chain 2 in the corner, and I'm going to stop here and lay it out flat and show you that it does buckle, and there, and if you pull on it, it does lay out flat. And then I'm going to show you one done real quick, and it is on the blocking board. Now I'm not quite sure how much of it you're going to see, so there it's on the blocking board, and it is just about dry. There is a little bit that's not quite dry, so I'm not going to take it off yet. But that is my 9th square, and then you just watched me do my 10th square. And so my plan is to do sometime in the next month I will do square 11 and 12, and in November I will plan on a vlog where I sew the rest of the squares together and then start the border. And this make along goes through December. I am going to draw a semi-finalist type winner, whatever, works in progress winner from the Facebook group soon. We will have a drawing in October, and then in December I'm going to be watching for all of you guys to be putting up your finishes, so that way in maybe during Vlogmas, that my Vlogmas goes over into Russian Christmas, so the 12 days of Christmas. Sometime during that 12 days of Christmas, I should be able to draw a winner for the pineapple square make along. And I'm gonna, basically I have been talking about that package that I put together for that, and there is an El Grey bag to be given away. So if you have not entered in to the pineapple make along yet, you still have time. You could do 12 squares and finish this blanket by the end of the year. Not a problem. I'm sure that some of you could do it. So I will talk to you all later. Take a moment out of each day and be a little creative. Talk to you later. Bye now.